Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between. My name is Kegsman, and welcome to 2 Minutes to Midnight, the podcast where we take a look at the alpha that is currently happening for the latest expansion release, Midnight. We're talking to folks leading up to the release of the expansion, and today we have the fantastic Bear's Adventures with us. Bear, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. A little bit cold, but other than that, I'm all right.
The British winter is setting in. It is slowly but surely setting in. So the past couple of days definitely has dropped in temperature, but the Midnight Alpha is heating up, which is very exciting. Obviously, we've had our look at the Harandar and the Haranir. We're in the Void Zone as well. We've taken a look at everything that is kind of coming with the storyline of Midnight so far. I just want to get initial thoughts on Midnight. How are you finding the expansion, the vibes? Is it everything you wanted, or is there something more you would wish for?
I am so excited. I think this has to be the most excited I've ever been for an expansion, and I'm not even exaggerating. And I don't know whether it's because housing is something I've always wanted, or if it's just everything. Everywhere is just so pretty. There's like so many cute things. There's like all the detail they've put into everything. I'm just so excited. I'm too excited.
I mean, expansion, you said the most excited you've been for expansion. When did you start playing WoW? Like, what was your initial foray into WoW?
First started in, I always forget the name, and I'm ashamed. The one before Mists of Pandaria. What's that one?
Cataclysm.
That's the one. So I started then because an ex of mine wanted me, well, he wasn't an ex at the time, wanted me to start gaming with him so he could get the refer a friend mount. So I was like, I'll give it a go. Made a blood elf, died at the Scar play, the Scar area.
Dead Scar. Yeah.
And that's one. And I basically rage quit and thought, this is a rubbish game. And then I saw him playing Mists of Pandaria, and I saw all the colours and the panda, and I was like, oh my god, what are you playing? And then I dived back into the game, and the rest is history. I've just been addicted ever since. I went and got my revenge on the people in the Dead Scar, and everything was sorted. But yeah, since
rocking
around then.
back up max level. What's up now? Exactly. Yeah, Mr. Pandaria, in my opinion, the greatest expansion they've ever created. But Midnight, as you've mentioned, has gotten off to a great start. There's obviously a lot of discussion around add-ons. There's a lot of discussion around class changes. But as you've mentioned, the story that we've been given, the zones that we've been given, the housing we'll dive into in just a little bit, because obviously housing is incredibly exciting. But for the folks obviously that don't know you, that don't know Bear's Adventures, you are something of a pet collector.
Just a slight one.
just a small collector. How many unique pets do you currently have?
I think 1,424. I think was my last check.
That's a lot of pets. That is a menagerie. That is bigger than most zoos.
And I do want an obsession.
I do want to touch upon the fact that we do have some pretty big changes coming in regards to pets collection. How do you feel about those? Because for folks that don't know, instead you used to battle pets and collect them very similar to what you do in other monster collecting games. Looking at you, Pokemon. Now they've changed that. Is it a positive change? Is it a negative change, or is it kind of one of those changes that's okay, I still get to collect pets, nothing's really changed for me?
So I've a positive and a negative. So for me, the whole point of collecting pets for me is the pet battles, is going around seeing if you're actually going to like accidentally kill it or catch it. That's like it's the thrill of actually getting it, and sort of like the journey, I guess, of like leveling your pets, making like just instantly leveling them is just it's not the same. But on the flip side, people that are not pet collectors, because they sort of get intimidated by how to battle them, I see that as a good thing. Like the changes are a good thing because they can just click on them to collect them rather than having to battle them. So if they start clicking and collecting them, they're like, oh, that's really cute. How adorable is this? Oh my god, there's another one. I need that one too. And then before they know it, they're hooked. and then they have 10 pets in their collection, and then they venture out into the rest of Azeroth, and then they see all the other pets, and then they'll look more into pet battling. I hope, because it's only midnight where it's like changing with how you collect them and how you catch them.
So it's not, it's something that they will have to, like, midnight will be their starter step into it, as you know, as we can see it. And I think it is correct. I think you are correct in the fact that it is a positive change overall. It's a net positive, because you do have people that will be able to step in.
But yes, but the people who are avid pet collectors like me, who are already enamored, I guess, with the whole pet battling, we see it as a big downer, because it's completely changed. That part of the game that we love has now been taken. Yes, you can still do the pet battling in the rest of the world, like in the rest of Azeroth, and I get that they made this change so that they could focus on housing and other elements of the game. I get it, but I really, really hope they bring the pet battles back at some point.
Do they still have the trainers around the midnight area? Because I know that there are certain zones that have trainers where you can go and face their teams. Have we discovered those yet in the midnight alpha, or has that also been removed?
I personally haven't, but I don't know if they are there. I know that the family battler achievements were big things as well, because there's something to aim towards, something fun to do on the side. Me personally, pet battling is like my relaxing time. It's my chill. Like, I don't have to think about anything. That's what I do to relax in the game, which is why you don't really see me pet battling on stream. And the family battler achievements, they've not seemed to have added new ones for midnight, but they have added ones for Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, and I think there's a couple of others as well, but I can't remember what they were.
Okay, so
at least they've added some new things, I guess. Yeah,
there's a chance there. That's fair enough. Everyone, obviously, I myself, pet battles have never been something that I've ever been truly interested in. When they announced them, I thought, cool, that's a really, really cool idea. I love the fact that we have this for folks that do enjoy this. But for me, it was never, in my eyes, I was always like, okay, if I wanted to do that, I would play Pokemon or something along those sort of lines. But I also appreciate the fact that it is something that is it's a comfort part of WoW for a lot of people, yourself included. And I would like to see in the future them kind of not necessarily reverting the change, but adding to it, giving the option, maybe having like a pet battle toggle where it's like you either choose to collect them as it is in the midnight alpha now, where you just kind of walk up, click, boom, you've got it, or whether or not it's going to be something that you do collect, that you do actually have the pet battle. So that I imagine that's probably the one thing about the alpha that if you had to change, would that be your big number one change?
Yeah, that would probably be the only change, I would say. Everything else I've come across has been awesome. But yeah, the pet battling is the one. But on the flip side, if, like you say, they put that toggle in place, so even in like Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor or wherever, you could flick the switch so that you just had to click to collect it, I think so many more people would go out collecting things. Because there's so many collectors out there. Like, I think a lot of focus is on endgame stuff, but definitely the War Within and Midnight, it seems to be gearing towards collectors and people who level alts as well as endgame people.
Yeah, it does seem as though they have tried to spread the sort of like the love for people around World of Warcraft Midnight, the latest expansion. So we obviously pet battles, and we spoke about the new zones that are coming, obviously a bunch of new pets. One of the new pets that I wanted to very, very quickly touch on, that I was kind of excited to see, simply because there was another content creator out there that was exceptionally excited about it. That was the new elf hounds, which are based on real life dash hunt.
I have a feeling I know who the content creator is as well.
yeah, probably. Obviously, Earth does have a dash hunt called Frankie. I was looking on stream trying to find the new elf hounds. They're in there. There is one that actually looks exactly like Frankie as well, which
so cute.
I'm so excited for. And I love the fact that we're getting more variations, obviously, on... We've had dogs since, I think, the first we've had dogs forever, since the old Perky the pug back in Wrath of the Lich King. We're getting new, new variations with pets. Is there an animal or a variation of an animal that isn't currently available as a pet that you would do terrible things to have added as a pet that you could collect?
Oh my god, you're putting me on the spot. Let me think.
Because there are a lot of animals.
Oh, the baby otters.
Baby otters. Okay.
Maybe baby otters. They're so cute.
That's it. Makes is going to be happy with that.
More pandas. Maybe I should be saying more pandery things, but there's already pandas there. So maybe yeah, I'd say otters. Otters are like the cutest.
Baby otters. That is a great shout.
Yeah.
One of my personal favorites that they've added recently was Daisy the sloth.
So cute.
I love Daisy the sloth. It's one of my. It's not very often that I see a pet and I'm like, I need to have it. Daisy was one of them. Yes, I have.
Waddles is so cute. It follows you. I don't know if the other pets are the same. This is the only one I've come across so far. But wherever you walk, it follows you. It's the cutest little thing. I need it in my life. I think it's probably going to be one of the first pets I go for when it's like proper live. Yeah. Oh, it's so cute.
And I love the fact that they're adding stuff like that. Obviously, mount collecting is big, same alongside pet collecting. I'm very much the same with mounts. I've never been an avid mount collector, but occasionally there are mounts that pop up and I go, I need it. The one that I haven't yet got that I do still need, that I have a mighty need for, and I didn't get it during the boost that we got, the turbo boost, was
the bounty,
the Iron Hoof Destroyer. Iron Hoof Destroyer from Black Hand.
Yes. That took me ages to get that one.
That's the one I need. The only other time that I've ever done that for was when they introduced the snail mounts in Zereth Mortis. Cascade. Yes. I went, I need that mount. That mount, I need it. It has to be mine.
The one that moved really slow. So it moved slow like a snail. That was like the best one. It was so cool.
Like the sea. It's like the sea turtle. The sea turtle is fantastic underwater, but I love the fact that it is slow on land as well, because of course it would be.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. So yeah, new zones. I want to touch upon those as well, because I think it's safe to say Blizzard have outdone themselves with these zones. Not only the new ones that we've seen, obviously with Harandar, with Zul'Aman, the extension of what we believe to be Zul'Aman, but the revamp of Eversong and Ghostlands, kind of merging them into one. How do you feel about the idea of revamping zones? We've obviously been with the Cataclysm zones as we have known them for longer than we had the OG zones, which is wild to think about. Is it something that you would love to see them do slowly, kind of revamping all these little zones, or would you like to kind of see a whole world revamp in one go?
I think doing them as separate things, like each maybe a town or a city one by one is probably better, because like I think everybody would want everything changed in one go, but like there's only a certain amount of people that work for Blizzard, so that I think having them do everything in one go is going to be a lot of work. So having them do a city one by one, I think will add to the awesome factor as well, because you'll see things changing gradually, and you can like be part of that rather than everything hitting you at once and having to explore everything at once.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I suppose the not the argument per se, but the other side of that coin though is you could end up in a scenario where the world feels a little bit disjointed, because you could go from one zone that is updated, revamped, like we've seen with Eversong Woods, and then you fly over into a different zone and it's the same as it was in Cataclysm. So I can understand how people feel in regards to that. There is a world, obviously Last Titan is probably giving us a fairly substantial revamp to some of the zones in Northrend. They say that they're already planning for the future past the Last Titan. There is a world where after Last Titan, it's going to be so cool. Going to be so cool. But there's a world where that could lead into a whole world revamp in one go. We don't know what's happening with that. Myself personally, I'd love to see a time skip along those sort of lines. In regards to the Last Titan, what we've seen with Midnight, this is obviously the World Soul Saga is a very much a large jump in from what we've seen storytelling wise. Each expansion has kind of been their own self-contained thing, whereas Midnight, The War Within, The Last Titan have very much feels like one story stretched over 3 expansions. Is that something you think Blizzard should continue to do in the future, or do you feel as though there should be some standalone and some that are considered sagas, like we do see with the World Soul Saga?
I quite like the saga. I kind of like that it's different this time. And I like that you're not waiting a couple of years for an expansion, you're getting one every year, and there seems to always be something new. Whereas normally you have to kind of wait a while. So I quite like the saga style. I don't know about maybe having some standalone, as long as it's like a story on its own, but not leaving it so long before the next. But I think they've done really well with like patches and stuff. I think they've done, like, definitely recently, the way the patches have been going, I'm quite happy with it. Sometimes as a collector it's quite overwhelming, because there is so much to collect all the time. And just as you get on top of something, there's like, oh my god, there's a time limited event, you have to collect all the things. So that part of it, for a collector, it's quite hard. But I like that there's always new content at the moment. So yeah, I think the sagas is probably a good way to go.
It's interesting that you touch upon that in regards to them adding new things, collections, and then the feeling of, oh, I have to collect all these new things that they've been putting into the game. I suppose my question in regards to that is to divert slightly. Obviously Blizzard have been very, very open about the fact they want to get into a better cycle of releasing content. They want to get into, a better groove of bringing stuff to the players. Is there a world where it becomes too much? Because for a long time we have complained, or there have been complaints of sometimes patches can feel stale, you're sat in Season 4 of Dragonflight for too long, there's nothing to do. Is there a world where there is too much, it puts too much pressure on people that do enjoy the collection side of things, especially if, as you've mentioned, you have time-gated content? Is that a problem? Is it very difficult to find a middle ground where it feels good, but you don't feel pressured?
So I love when the things aren't time-limited events, because it doesn't matter if a month has passed, you can still go back and do it later. When it's time-gated, you definitely feel the pressure to get everything. Not everyone will feel like that. Some people will only want mounts, some people will only want to get their upgrade gear or whatever, or transmogs. But for me and a lot of other people out there that collect everything, I think there was, at one point, there was the Visions, there was, I can't remember, there were so many things at one time. I think there was like 4 events on at once, and you had to like pick and choose which one are you going to do today. And then you felt like if you didn't get it done, it's like, oh my god, what am I going to do? I've missed out on that. So that there was, I can't remember what it was. It might have been Noble Garden or something, but there was one of them that I completely missed out on all the new stuff, all the new transmog, because I just didn't have time to collect it. So I like that they're adding in new things, but less of the time limited stuff. That was it. I think Plunderstorm was on at the same time. There was Plunderstorm, something else, and something else. There was like a lot of time stuff at the one time.
Yeah, I think that rings a bell in Plunderstorm being alongside other events like Noble Garden. But I suppose the argument against, in regards to time-gated content is, I mean, Noble Garden will. I suppose the other thing is Noble Garden will come round again. So I think for I think for yearly events, it's not too bad as long as it's a yearly event. It's coming along again at another time, because it's very, very rare that they will ever take anything away from those yearly events. They'll add to them quite often, but it's very, very rare that they take anything away from those yearly events. So I suppose that's not too bad. But I do agree with you in regards to, Plunderstorm, Noble Garden. There's another event. There was another event on at the same time, and I think that extends as well to other versions of the game as well, because it was like, oh, here's Mist of Pandaria Classic, which is an absolutely beloved version of the game, on top of them also releasing the 3rd season of The War Within, and then we had something else that was happening at the same, and it was like, okay,
there's a lot.
You need to chill. Because I can't play all these versions of the game, and I don't like the idea of, I can understand the idea of, sometimes that is unfortunately life. Sometimes you don't have the time that you would like to do the things that you like. But also at the same time, I feel as though that should be taken into account. I feel like if you are releasing a classic expansion, or if you are releasing a new patch in one version of the game, don't then drop the same thing 2 weeks later. And obviously Blizzard have a lot more data than we do. They can see the player counts and everything. But it does feel as though sometimes it can be a bit much. Like you said, I have to go and do all these things.
And I do this full time. So this is like, I'm a content creator full time now, so I can literally play WoW as much as I want. And I'm overwhelmed. I'm struggling to get everything that I want to do. But the other thing as well, some of the events, like the time limited ones, they're like, oh, you have to get this at this time, or you'll never be able to get it again. And then 3 months later, it's on the trading post. I've noticed that happening as well. So I think if they plan on doing that, maybe just put at a disclaimer saying this will be available on the trading post for tenders. Kind of thing, just so that would be great.
It would give you a little bit of leeway. Any developers listening to this, this is our list of demands. It is one of those where it would be nice to, because then you could kind of almost pick and choose. You could turn around and see, oh, I see this event has this on. I can not ignore it, but I know that I don't have to worry about that too much because it will be available 3 months down the line. I can put my attention on this. Yes,
that would be pretty cool.
That'd be very, very nice. That'd be very nice. Well, speaking of pretty cool, speaking of overwhelmed, there's a little thing called housing that has been put into the Midnight Alpha. Something that has been asked for since the release of the game. Something I believe that was actually planned for the release of the game and was scrapped because they didn't have the tools to do it right. It now appears as though they have the tools to do it right. We know for a fact that they've been working on this since Legion. I know that this has been something that you have had in your heart and in your soul, Bez, for the longest time.
Yes.
Just quickly, before we dive right into it, what are your initial thoughts with housing?
Oh my god, it's so huge. That was my initial thought.
Sorry?
That it's so huge. As in the map, the neighborhoods. I imagined it would just be a street. That's all I imagined, was a little tiny street with instances where you went in and there was your house. It's a big, like 2 big, huge maps. And I looked at it and was like, oh my days. They are very large. There's a lot of plots in there as well, which I think is the most impressive thing, because the map itself is massive and they look absolutely gorgeous. The art team have outdone themselves, because both of all the zones that we've seen so far truly evoke the feeling of the area that you're in, and you know where you are. The Orgrimmar Hills, you know for a fact where you are. It's beautiful. I love them. But I think the most important thing is it's not just, they aren't zones that are then sparsely populated by houses. The houses, they're not packed in there. That's probably the wrong thing to say, but it is full. Yeah, I think there's 55 plots or 54, I can't remember. And then I think there's space for 50 people, so you can still move around if you need to. And I think that was kind of cool that they've left a few plots spare for people to like move if they need to. Yeah,
to kind of come in after the fact and be like, oh, okay, I can, I can fill this space, or I want to move here. Because it also means that you have a situation where it's like, I want your plot of land, you want my plot of land. If there were max players in there and only that many slots, it could get a bit awkward. Whereas this time it's like, okay, I'll move here, you move there, and then I'll move into yours. Kind of almost like one giant housing puzzle. And it does seem as though, I think that for me, I first played it at Gamescom. I was quite excited for it. The idea of player housing very much excited me, but I was also not apprehensive, but I was kind of trying to mute my expectations, because with a game like World of Warcraft, it was kind of difficult to envision in my head, okay, how are they going to produce this player housing? And I think they surprised everybody, because from top to bottom, it is an incredible, incredible experience. And I think my motto that I've said since I played it, and I will continue to say it, is that they have made player housing easily accessible to everybody, but deep enough to interest the real sort of like invested players in housing.
Yeah, I agree. It's just even that there's even like places that you can do like events, like community events with your guild. or your community. Like in the Alliance one, there's a theatre, like a big huge one with curtains that move as you walk through them. There's like little pubs, there's a distillery, there's a little orchard, there's so many cool things, and I just love how they've sort of thought about the community vibe, not just people to have a house.
Yeah, I think that was probably their first. I think that would have, if I was in their shoes and I was creating player housing, it would probably be a case of, right, player housing is important because folks want to express themselves. But what is the point in expressing yourself if nobody else can see it? We need to build a community vibe. It almost feels like an extension of guilds to a certain extent. And I love the fact that they have gone fully down that route, as you mentioned. And I think we can all say that the actual player housing itself, the creating of your own area, I imagine you, alongside many others, myself included, we are going to lose so many hours. So many hours in creating our perfect house. I can't even begin to imagine how many hours you've lost already.
So many. So I go into like hyper focus sometimes, and I literally lose hours of my life just on housing. So I can only imagine how it's going to be when it's like live, and like it's not even the actual building and the decorating the houses, it's the area that's around it as well. So there's like a underwater Tortolan bar in both Horde and Alliance. There's caves, there's like a little smuggler area. There's just so much, and that's just the outside. That's not even spending time on the inside and making like, I may have made like a little trapdoor and little thing. It's just so fun. It's so fun. I've even thought about doing like a little puzzle room. I think it was Panda TV that made like a little jumping puzzle room to like jump around the whole thing. So you could have like community nights and everything, making little puzzles where people have to like try and jump around the room. It's just so cool. And I love that if someone visits you, you can both interact together.
Yes, so you don't have, it's not just kind of like set by the player who owns the house. There's certain things you can do as together to create puzzles, and it's just so, I think that like it's so open for friends, I suppose is probably the right word. It's such a friendly experience, which you absolutely love to see. And the fact that you do have, as you mentioned, these little areas where it isn't just housing. You've got, you mentioned the Tortolan bar and everything. And this is, for me, obviously for those that don't know, I got my start a long time ago doing Warcraft content on the original Warcraft radio. I hosted a show specifically about role-playing. And that little part of my head, the little part of my brain that is still in that role-playing sort of frame of mind is looking at this going, if we had this like 15 years ago during, say, Wrath of the Lich King, this would have been absolutely incredible, because you could build up a community where it's a case of you don't just have houses. Someone could be in charge. They could build their own tavern, or someone could be, building a hotel, a bakery. There's so much you can do with this, where it's not just a case of, here, look at my stuff. It's, I have decided to become this character, which, again, I'm always a fan of when Blizzard puts the role-playing back in the MMORPG.
Yeah. So I'm not a role player myself. I'm on Argent Dawn because it's nice to see a different layer. So you see other people role playing. People always assume that role playing is Goldshire. It's not. just for anyone that isn't sure about role play, it's not just what you hear about Goldshire. There's so much more. So you see people being a dwarf and acting like a dwarf, or like the way they talk, like the way they talk. They're talking in the way a dwarf would talk, and it's just so cool that, like you say, we can get together and do that sort of stuff in the community, in the neighborhood. And for like the first time ever, I'm actually thinking about being brave and diving into the roleplay side of it, because you can, because you're going to be surrounded by people that you know in your guild and community, and you can bring the whole thing to life. I'm so excited. I
wonder if Blizzard will ever do something where, because obviously you have to, when you create a housing area, when you create a community, you join that and you're kind of locked in on that. I wonder if, to kind of help with this whole role-playing and with the idea of opening up communities for people, whether there would ever be a situation where you could almost set up, you could basically put the community that you have built on you could open it up, toggle it to be open, and then players could search for that particular community. So you turn around and you say, right, I want this to be called, Orgrashire or something along those sort of lines. And inside you've got a bakery and there's a tavern, there's a hotel, there's, all these bits and pieces, and you properly separate it out into, this is a neighborhood area, this is like a retail area, this is our industrial area.
Trips.
Exactly. You could open it up and call it that, and you could turn around and say, oh, here's, the people could search on a list and be like, oh, look for this place for this, and they could go and visit, and they could buy something from this area and then turn around and go and visit another area and buy something else there.
So cool.
That would be cool. And you could also, I'm not saying that this is me thinking about this a little bit too in depth, but I'm going to go with it, is a world where you have something like that, and then a couple of those communities get together and create a secret or sort of like a little game for folks to play where, you get it in WoW where it's like, oh, you buy this item from this person, go and sell it to this person for another item.
Oh,
and then you
that
go
would
to
be
them.
Amazing.
Stuff like, there's so much they could do with it. And could you imagine that sort of scenario for the player housing?
That would be amazing. Or even like a treasure hunt.
Yeah,
because
a treasure hunt.
You could do something like that as well and hide items, like someone can hide stuff and then people can go and find it. But I love the idea of the making the quests. That would be really cool. Really, really cool.
Yeah, build your own quests.
There could be another community that's like pubs and nightclubs. It could be like the nightclub scene. You could do so much. You could do loads.
The nightclub, just nothing but bars and nightclubs. Here's a restaurant on the edge of a cliff overlooking the Orgrimmar Bay, and then you've got, you could do so much with it. You really, really could, and that just helps the community vibe of something like World of Warcraft, which, again, we love it when they start putting the role-playing version of a game into a MMORPG. Role-playing is right there in the name, and I would truly, truly love something like that. But we could wax lyrically about housing for the longest time because there are so many cool ideas. But obviously you've spent a lot of time inside the world of housing. I'd love to know, is there anything so far that you've seen that you would change, or is there anything that you feel like is currently missing that should be added? Because we've spoken about the ability to search for communities, but something specific to housing itself that would make life either potentially more accessible for people, easier for people, or is potentially something that has been overlooked by the developers.
To be honest, I kind of like everything the way it is. I've noticed in the little main town area and the buildings, so like the distillery, the little pub areas, you can't actually go into those buildings. And I don't know if that's intentional, but I would really love for those to be opened up, so you can do a lot more with that. In the actual house itself, actually, I'm going back on what I just said. I would change things. I feel like
I would change nothing except for this.
So I find that I'm limited with what I can do. So say, for example, the outside of my house, you have a certain amount of objects that you can put down. Some take up like 1 space, some take up 5 spaces, depending on how big the item is. And I feel that I would want to cover my entire outside of my house with trees and flowers and shrubs, and then I wanted to make a little cobbled path to go from my door to the main the entrance part and go around the fountain, make it look really pretty. But because I'd used so many cobbles, that was all contributing to the amount that goes outside. So I really hope that the outside amount is increased. And the same for the inside. At the moment, we've only got access to the first renown, so it will increase with time, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough to start with. Yeah. So the inside of my house, I only kind of really put a fireplace down, did a few bookcases, and then I decorated 1 room. But I wanted to make my house like an apartment because I wanted all of my characters to be able to have a little apartment to themselves, because you only get 2 houses, 1 for Horde, 1 for Alliance, and I could only decorate one room with the first renown. So I kind of I don't know. I want more. Give me more.
Give me more of the things.
Give
We
me
know that
more.
you've given us player housing that we've been asking for decades, but it's
Yeah.
not enough, Blizzard. We want more. Now, I do
More, give me more.
understand. I do understand what you're saying. It does feel as though. I mean, I can understand that there needs to be. I say that. I'll take that back. There doesn't need to be a reason for you to advance your renown to get more decorating space, but I can also kind of see it in that it's something that they want you to be constantly kind of interacting with. I do think as though the idea of having more decorating space or more decorating, I suppose, numbers, that should just be a flat thing. Like, you shouldn't have to earn that. It should be a case, say for example, the number is, I don't know, 500, and say for example on this renown you start at 300, you should just start at 500. You should just start there. That should be your baseline for you to be able to do something like that. So yeah, I do get what you mean.
Yeah, it might also be a bit of a bad thing to say, but you know the way some things have cost like 5 and some have 1, like the amount of space they take up. I think everything should just be the 1 amount. Like, it should be per thing, not per space.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Then it would make it more easier to manage as well. I kind of get for the outside the way they're trying to maintain it, I suppose, in a way, because if they've got too many things going on outside, it's going to interfere with the instance, I guess. So I sort of understand a little bit, but just give me more. I want more.
You've heard it here first, folks. WoW players never happy.
No, never.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I do. I think it's because everyone's so passionate about something that they have been wanting for such a long time. Is that I don't think there's ever a world where it will be a case of enough, because there's always extra that you can do. But I also understand that because this is their first foray into something like player housing, I can understand they might be. I mean, for their first foray into player housing, it is definitely, they've given us a lot. Like they haven't scrimped on it. They've given us a lot. So, but as with human nature, we always want more. So fingers crossed, we do see some changes coming up in the future with that one. I mean, I think it would be nice to be able to have just a flat number that is high enough where you could fully decorate your house at the start, and then you could maybe attach different, different things in regards to your decor and your rooms that you have available. But we've got patches for that.
True. I think just to add to it as well, one other thing that's kind of been highlighted by a few people is the different communities that you can have. So you can have a guild neighborhood, and then you can have a chartered neighborhood. So the guild one can go up to 999, which is the maximum a guild can have, and then the chartered one is only 50. So I've had a lot of people in my community. So I have a guild, but then I've also got a lot of people that are in their own guilds, but they still enjoy my content and join us for events and stuff like that. So I would really love if they increase the amount for a chartered one, because it feels that people have to choose whether to go with their guild or whether to go with, like they're having to split it. So I would love if they increase the chartered amount, just because it gives more options.
More freedom for players to choose, which is never a bad thing.
No, like you can just put an alt in the guild. If people wanted to be part of my neighborhood, they could throw an alt in there. They'd still have access to the house. So that's a way around it. But I think they should have given that as an option from the very beginning, so that people wouldn't have to make a decision on where to go.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that decision was made because they wanted to make sure that the servers would remain stable.
Possibly, yeah.
So I suppose there is potentially a technical reason for that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I know with the guild ones, they've said that when there's more than 50 people, it will automatically open up another instance so that they're all split. And so if you've got like a max guild, you'd have like so many different instances of the one thing, but then you can just visit like the guild leader or whatever and go into like the main one if there was ever events or anything. So they could always do that for the chartered ones as well. So then it wouldn't interfere with anything, because it would just open up another instance.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
it's definitely an evergreen sort of thing. This isn't just for Midnight. We're gonna be seeing these advance. I mean, we only currently have 4 different decors, I suppose, for the outside, in that you've got Night Elf, Blood Elf, Orc, Human, We're going to be seeing a lot more in the future. I can't wait to see what they do with some of the other. I can't wait to see what an undead house is going to look like,
that'd be
or
cool.
from my heart, a Tauren
Pandoran.
house. Tauren house for me. I cannot wait to see what we do with
Panda for
those.
me.
It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. We know it's an evergreen system, so but
Yeah.
I think marks out of 10 for Blizzard for the beginning of player housing, Bear.
10, 11. 10, 11.
10, 11. 1011.
Yeah.
10, 11.
Honestly,
out
my
of 10.
jaw dropped. When I first saw it, my jaw dropped. I was just, they've knocked it out of the park. They've done amazing.
GG's to Blizzard. Well done to Blizzard for that one. So
Yeah.
wrapping up here, we've spoken, there's so many different things. We've spoken about housing. We've spoken about, obviously, the changes they've made to pet battles. We've touched upon, the changes that we have seen to the world. I suppose, final question, Midnight, as it currently stands, there's a lot changing. We're still in alpha for however long. It's going to be a while until it releases. How do you feel overall about this latest installment in the World of Warcraft franchise? Is it something that you are, is it something that you are quietly holding your breath, thinking, okay, I'm going to wait until we finally get a proper look, or are you all in on Midnight as it currently stands?
I'm all in. I'm all in. Yeah, it's amazing. Just everything. I'm all in.
There we go. All in on Midnight. And I think that seems to be a pretty common feeling across the board. We've seen a lot of good communication from them over the past few weeks, talking about changes they've made, talking about how they're approaching, add-ons, how they're approaching player housing, how they're approaching just generally the way that we interact with World of Warcraft. So, Bez, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure. For the folks that are listening and they'd like more Bear, where can they find more Bear?
I'm everywhere. Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere, you name it, I'm there. Just usually bears_adventures, sometimes with a wow at the end, but I can give you my links if you want to include it in the video. I don't know.
There we go. I'll absolutely do that. I will absolutely do that. Well, thank you very much for listening, folks. It has been an absolute blast. We've got another 2 minutes to midnight coming up next week as we get closer and closer to the release of the latest expansion here in World of Warcraft. I'm excited. Everyone else seems to be very, very excited as well. I hope you are too. I'll see you folks next week.